Before we begin, this is a fictional story created for entertainment and inspiration. It is not based on a real AGT audition or real events. Now imagine this. What if one young boy's voice became so powerful that an entire theater fell silent? What if a child who had almost nothing could remind the world what courage truly sounds like? Stay with me until the very end because this story has an ending that will touch your heart. And if you enjoy emotional and inspiring stories like this one, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another unforgettable story. The bright stage lights filled the giant auditorium as thousands of people waited for the next contestant. Everyone expected another ordinary performance. But behind the curtain stood a skinny 12-year-old Filipino boy named Miguel. His shoes were worn out, his shirt had been carefully stitched by his grandmother, and his hands trembled with nervousness. He had traveled a long way with nothing except hope in his heart and a dream that many people had laughed at. Miguel grew up in a small fishing village where life was never easy. Every morning before sunrise, he helped his father push their tiny fishing boat into the sea. Some days they returned with enough fish to eat. Other days they returned almost empty-handed. His mother worked long hours washing clothes for neighbors, and despite all their struggles, they always reminded Miguel that no one could ever take away his faith or his dream. Every evening, after finishing his chores, Miguel would stand near the beach. As the waves crashed against the shore, he sang with all his heart. The ocean became his audience, the wind carried his voice, and the stars seemed to listen. He dreamed that one day people far beyond his village would hear him sing. Many people told him to stop dreaming. They said children from poor villages never became stars. Some laughed at his old clothes. Others said he should focus on finding work instead of chasing impossible dreams. Those words hurt him deeply, but every insult only made him more determined. Months later, Miguel was given the chance to audition for a famous international talent show. His family could hardly believe it. They borrowed money for the journey, packed a small bag, and prayed together before he left home. His grandmother hugged him tightly and whispered, "No matter what happens, sing with your heart. That is your greatest gift." When Miguel finally stepped onto the huge stage, his knees felt weak. The audience looked enormous. The judges watched quietly as he introduced himself with a humble smile. He explained that he wanted to honor his homeland and his family through music because they had sacrificed everything to help him reach this moment. The room became completely silent as the music began. Miguel closed his eyes and sang with every emotion inside him. His voice was soft at first, then stronger and stronger until it filled every corner of the theater. It wasn't just a performance. It was a message of love, gratitude, and hope from a child who refused to give up. As the song continued, the audience stopped whispering. Some people smiled through tears. Others held their hands over their hearts. Even the judges seemed surprised by the honesty and emotion in Miguel's voice. Every note carried the story of early mornings at sea, empty dinner tables, and a family that never stopped believing. When the final note echoed through the theater, there was complete silence for just a moment. Then the audience rose to their feet in a thunderous standing ovation. The applause seemed endless. Miguel looked around in disbelief as tears filled his eyes. He had never imagined so many strangers would cheer for a boy from a tiny fishing village. One of the judges smiled warmly and told Miguel that true greatness is not measured by fame or money but by the ability to touch people's hearts. Another judge praised his courage and said that his performance reminded everyone why dreams matter. Miguel thanked the judges, but before leaving the stage, he looked toward the audience and said, "If someone watching this feels like giving up because life is difficult, please don't stop believing. Sometimes your biggest dream begins on your hardest day." Those simple words spread across the world. Millions of people shared his story, not because he had the most powerful voice, but because he had the strongest heart. Schools invited him to inspire students. Musicians encouraged him to continue learning. Families found hope in his journey. When Miguel finally returned to his village, everyone gathered to welcome him home. The neighbors who had once doubted him now applauded proudly. His father smiled with tears in his eyes, and his grandmother whispered, "I always knew your voice would travel farther than the ocean." Miguel never forgot where he came from. As he grew older, he used every opportunity to help children who loved music but could not afford lessons. He believed that every child deserved a chance to dream, no matter how poor they were. His story reminds us that success does not begin with money, expensive clothes, or a perfect life. It begins with courage. It begins with believing in yourself even when nobody else does. The world may see your struggles, but only you can decide whether those struggles become your excuse or your strength. If this story touched your heart, remember that someone out there may need a little hope today. Share kindness whenever you can, keep believing in your dreams, and never underestimate the power of one determined heart. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this fictional inspirational story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs encouragement today. Your support helps us continue bringing you stories that inspire hope, courage, and the belief that no dream is ever too small. As Miguel slowly walked off the stage, he still couldn't believe what had just happened. Only a few minutes earlier, he had been an unknown boy from a small fishing village. Now, thousands of people were standing and applauding him. Backstage, he hugged his mother tightly as tears rolled down both of their faces. She whispered, "No matter where life takes you, never forget where you came from." Miguel nodded, knowing those words would stay with him forever. In the days that followed, the performance inspired people around the world. Viewers didn't just talk about Miguel's voice, they talked about his courage, his humility, and the love he showed for his family and homeland. Messages of encouragement poured in from every corner of the globe. Teachers shared his story with their students. Parents showed it to their children as a reminder that determination is more powerful than wealth, and that kindness leaves a greater mark than fame. When Miguel finally returned home, the entire village gathered to welcome him. Children waved handmade flags, fishermen sounded their boat horns, and neighbors who had once doubted his dream now smiled with pride. His father embraced him without saying a word. He didn't need to. The tears in his eyes said everything. Miguel walked to the same quiet beach where he had practiced singing every evening. The waves still crashed against the shore just as they always had. The wind still carried his voice across the water. He realized that while his life had changed, the place that gave him hope had not. Looking out at the ocean, he smiled and quietly thanked everyone who had believed in him when success seemed impossible. As time passed, Miguel chose not to chase fame alone. Instead, he returned to his village whenever he could. He organized free music workshops for children whose families could never afford lessons. He donated instruments to local schools and encouraged young dreamers to believe in themselves. Every child who stood nervously in front of him reminded him of the boy he used to be. Whenever someone asked him the secret behind his success, Miguel always gave the same answer. "Talent may open a door," he would say, "but character decides how far you go." Never let hardship convince you that your dream is too small. Sometimes the hardest road leads to the most beautiful destination. Years later, one little boy approached Miguel after a community concert. The child wore old sandals and held a broken guitar with missing strings. Nervously, he asked, "Do you think someone like me can become a singer someday?" Miguel smiled, knelt beside him, and replied, "I was once standing exactly where you are." If you keep learning, keep working, and never stop believing, your story can inspire someone else too. That simple conversation reminded Miguel why he had started singing in the first place. It had never been about applause. It had never been about recognition. It had always been about hope, the hope that one voice could remind another person not to give up. Maybe that's the true meaning of every dream. It's not just reaching the finish line. It's becoming a light for others who are still walking through the darkness. The greatest victory isn't hearing people cheer for you. It's hearing someone say, "Because of your story, I found the courage to keep going." If this fictional story touched your heart, remember that your circumstances do not define your future. Every great journey begins with one brave step, one quiet prayer, and one decision to keep moving forward even when nobody is watching. Your dream may seem impossible today, but tomorrow can begin with the choice you make right now. Thank you for staying until the end. If you enjoyed this fictional inspirational story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs hope today. Your support helps us continue creating stories that encourage courage, kindness, and the belief that no dream is too big for a determined heart.